It's incredibly frustrating because this is the atheist experience. We hopefully will be getting calls about, whether or not there's a God or anything else. But I realize today's special uh, because jackholes like Hamish are sitting there celebrating the fact that the United States just went back 100 years or 60, uh, essentially, but 100 in some cases, because some of the laws that are on the books are from like 1850, 1848, 1860 that go into place once Roe has dropped. And it's strange how we keep getting calls from dudes.
Yeah.
Dudes are so worried. Oh, hang on. I appreciate the fact that there are men who can be pregnant. So I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about dudes. And as somebody who's debated the subject many times and done everything I can to promote and defend bodily autonomy, an individual's right to choose, it's weird to say, how is this not like prison? When what's closer to prison is turning people who can get pregnant into incubators. That's beyond prison. We can't even do that to prisoners. You can't go in and take somebody's liver or use them or hook them up to be a blood donor or tissue donor or anything, even if it doesn't hurt them, even if it doesn't result in death. You don't get to do that with prisoners. And yet somehow you think you have the right to force someone to remain pregnant against their will. Mm-hmm. Not only is that going to fail, because anybody who doesn't want to be pregnant is going to find a way to no longer be pregnant. It's just going to result in more people dying. It's going to result in more problems. Hmm? I don't like what some on the left do sometimes, which are like, if you're a man or you have a penis, you just shut up about this issue because you shouldn't have an opinion. No, that's a huge mistake, because women's rights are humans' rights, and the right to choose and have autonomy over your body affects all of us, not only because all of us have mothers, but because we live in a society with other people cooperatively. So instead of doing the, guys should keep their mouth shut. No, everybody who's an ally on this issue should be speaking up and working and protesting and standing up. And there were plenty of times where on Twitter over the last couple of days where it was like, cishet white guys suck. And I didn't go after everybody who said that because I get it. When your rights are being taken away, you're going to lash out. And that's what's happening. And things are going to get worse. Undeniably, absolutely, things are going to get worse. And it's one of the reasons why I made the call that if you're planning to go out and protest, make sure you're doing it right. Because it's so frustrating to say, okay, why do you want to give special rights to a fetus? Well, the way you're phrasing it makes it, yes, the way I'm phrasing it is the way it is. Yes, but it's a person. Okay. Does it matter if it's a person? If it's in there, as a former friend said, curing cancer in the womb, that doesn't change whether or not it has a right to use somebody else's body. And when we start talking about, well, we can use people's body in some senses. Yes, we can. And I pointed out some of the prime examples. The woman had plenty of chances to use contraception. How do you know that? By the way, the 12-year-old that gets pregnant from an incestuous rape, oh, well, we'll make exceptions for that. Here's the problem. And this is what I tried to explain during the debate that I had with Christine. This issue is everybody's. And if you want to do this, consent to pregnancy or consent to sex is consent to pregnancy is consent to remaining pregnant, but we want to make exceptions in the case of incest or rape, then if your argument is that it's a person and its life is sacred and it shouldn't be killed, then that's true, even if this is if you're going to say it's a person, it's still a person, no matter how it was conceived. The conception part doesn't make it. So if you think that abortion is murder, but you want to make exceptions for rape and incest, then what you're saying is you're okay with murder in a couple of situations. That's the position you're in. That is the truth about the position you hold. It would be much better to hold a position that is grounded on something that you don't have an exception for. Okay. So if you say abortion's always wrong, it's always murder, no exceptions for rape and incest, while I think that that's an absolutely repulsive position, you are at least internally consistent. Everybody who argues on behalf of life's value and makes exceptions for rape and incest or others, they have an inconsistent position. And this was the important thing in that debate that I did. The secular anti-abortion group sent Christine in, and Christine got raked over the coals because Christine had a position that did not have an exception for rape and incest. And that meant that her position was actually internally consistent, but wrong. But when she didn't do as well in the debate, they basically threw her under the bus. And part of it was, well, we do, the other people who had kind of sent her, we do have an exception for rape and incest. And I'm like, okay, then you have a position that is internally inconsistent. And how do you solve that? I want, if somebody can call in with a position that's both valid and sound, internally consistent and demonstrably true, I'll accept it for anything, for Bigfoot, for abortion, for gods, for spirits, for things existing outside of space and time. That's all it takes for all of them. And yet this is not going to end. I don't know how many calls we're going to end up taking on abortion and abortion rights. It won't probably be the whole show or most of the show most of the time, but this is the world we live in now, where this is actually even more important because the right's been lost.